The sun was just creeping over the rooftops of Willow Creek, a tidy suburban enclave in Oregon, on a crisp October morning in 2024 when the chaos began. My wife, Clara, stood in our backyard, her official fire training gear still damp from a drill she'd been running. She gripped a garden hose in one hand, water dripping onto the grass, and a half-eaten granola bar in the other. An hour ago, she'd been deep in a certified fire suppression exercise, prepping for a regional safety demonstration. Now, a police officer stood on our lawn, his voice flat but firm. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for impersonating a first responder." The accusation was absurd, but it wasn't a mistake. It was the work of our HOA president, Marjorie, a woman who wielded her rulebook like a scepter and had just called the cops on Clara for daring to use a hose in her own yard. What Marjorie didn't know was that her petty power play was about to spark a firestorm that would consume her authority, and it all started with a real fire creeping closer than anyone expected. Clara's passion for firefighting wasn't just a job. It was personal. 3 years earlier, she'd watched her brother's home burn in a forest fire, and that loss fueled her drive to join the fire academy. This drill was her chance to shine, a step toward a promotion that could let her lead community safety programs. She'd spent weeks preparing, coordinating with the fire department, securing permits, and practicing in our backyard. The task was simple: simulate extinguishing a small shed fire using a residential hose. She had the paperwork, the badge, the radio with her captain on speed dial. Everything was by the book. But Marjorie, who lived in a hulking colonial across the street, didn't care about facts. Her hobby wasn't gardening or book clubs. It was patrolling Willow Creek like a self-appointed sheriff. Since becoming HOA president, she banned everything from late-night porch lights to unapproved mailbox colors. When she spotted Clara spraying water that morning, binoculars pressed to her face, she didn't see a trainee saving lives. She saw a threat to her control. I was tinkering in the garage when Marjorie's voice cut through the air, shrill and unmistakable. By the time I reached the front yard, she was on our lawn, clutching an HOA manual like a holy relic. "You're violating water restrictions," she snapped. "Hoses are for plants, not whatever this is." Clara, calm as ever, explained she was conducting an authorized fire drill. She even offered to show the permits. Marjorie wasn't having it. "You think you can play firefighter and waste our water? This isn't a game." Before we could blink, she was on her phone, dialing 911 with the urgency of someone reporting a hostage crisis. "There's a woman in a costume spraying water everywhere," she shrieked. "She's dangerous." 2 squad cars rolled up minutes later. Neighbors peeked out, phones in hand, one guy even dragging a lawn chair to watch the spectacle. The officers approached cautiously, as if Clara might turn the hose on them. She handed over her training badge, explained the drill, and named her supervisor. The lead officer was nodding, ready to move on, when Marjorie stormed up, waving her arms. "She's not even on the HOA safety list," she cried, as if that trumped a fire department ID. She pointed to her mailbox, claiming Clara had soaked it. A single droplet glistened on the edge. I bit my tongue to keep from laughing. Clara's shoulders tensed, faced smoke-filled mazes and 50-pound gear packs. But this was a new kind of test. Just as the officer was reviewing Clara's documents, his radio crackled. "Unit 4, possible brush fire at Pine Hollow, near the community park. Requesting civilian protocols." The air shifted. Pine Hollow was a dry field a half-mile away, part of Clara's drill zone. She locked eyes with the officer. "That's why I was training," she said. "We're supposed to run a neighborhood evacuation simulation today." The irony was brutal. Marjorie had just tried to arrest the one person trained to help in a real emergency. The officer waved Clara off to join her team, but Marjorie, undeterred, shouted, "She's probably starting fires to look important." The officer shut her down. "Ma'am, step back, or you'll be charged with obstructing an emergency." The crowd murmured. One neighbor muttered, "Let Clara do her job." Marjorie. For once, Marjorie was speechless, her face red as she stomped off. By afternoon, Clara returned, ash-streaked and exhausted. The fire was contained, and her evacuation coordination had earned praise from her captain. But Marjorie's false 911 call had consequences. Clara's name was now under review by the city's safety council, not for misconduct, but because Marjorie had sent an anonymous email titled "Fire Fraud in Willow Creek," complete with doctored photos of Clara's drill. It was a low blow, but we weren't surprised. That evening, we learned our neighbor Sam, a tech whiz with cameras covering his yard, had footage of the morning's chaos. It showed Marjorie screaming about fake firefighters and muttering she hoped Clara got fined. We saved the clip. This wasn't over. At the next HOA meeting, Marjorie took the stage like a doomsday prophet, warning about unauthorized water stunts and rogue safety drills. Clara stood, mic in hand, and dismantled her lies with facts: her training, her permits, the fire department's approval. She held up a stamped authorization form. I handed Sam's flash drive to the tech guy, and the room watched Marjorie's meltdown play on a big screen, her voice sneering about Clara's Barbie firefighter act. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Then another neighbor, Linda, stood up with her own video. Marjorie filling her hot tub from a hose that morning, the same one she'd vilified Clara for using. The room erupted. Marjorie's excuses, something about therapeutic soaking, fell flat. For the first time, her grip on the HOA loosened. But Clara's victory was bittersweet. The fire department paused her lead role in an upcoming drill due to the controversy. Furious, we decided to fight back bigger. Clara pitched turning her drill into a public fire safety day, with fire trucks, demos, and kid-friendly booths. Her captain loved it, calling it a recruitment goldmine. We secured the field behind the clubhouse, got city permits, and designed flyers with cartoon fire helmets. Marjorie tried to sabotage it, posting about liability risks and siren noise violations. When that failed, we found our training hose sliced clean through. My motion trigger camera caught her sneaking into our yard at midnight, clippers in hand. Clara didn't report it. Instead, she handed the footage to her captain with a plan. We'll show it when it matters. Fire Safety Day was a hit. Kids wore plastic helmets, parents learned CPR, and firefighters lit a controlled burn to show fire speed. Marjorie lurked, muttering about illegal flames. Clara took the mic, thanked the crowd, and dropped the bombshell. Someone tried to cancel this event by vandalizing our equipment. That footage is with the city now. The crowd buzzed. Marjorie fled, her visor askew, water splashing her shoes as she tripped. Neighbors cheered, not for drama, but for clarity. Marjorie didn't stop. She filed fake code violations, accused Clara of tampering with HOA pipes, even reported her to the State Fire Board. Each time, Clara's permits and allies like Sam, Linda, and a retired EMT named Greg shut her down. Finally, we gathered a coalition and petitioned the HOA Oversight Board. At a packed meeting, Clara laid out the evidence: Marjorie's 911 abuse, host sabotage, and harassment. Sam's videos played. Greg called Marjorie's actions a public safety threat. The city liaison confirmed Marjorie's complaints were baseless. The board stripped her of her title on the spot. Marjorie stormed out, claiming a conspiracy, but no one followed. Weeks later, Clara spoke at a regional fire event, her story of resilience spreading. Marjorie faded, her online rants ignored. The HOA elected a new, reasonable board. Our neighborhood felt lighter, friendlier. Clara's hose, patched and ready, became a symbol not of conflict, but of standing firm. So what do you think? Was Clara's public takedown of Marjorie justice or overkill? Should neighbors have stepped in sooner, or was Marjorie's reign inevitable in a rule-obsessed HOA? And how far would you go to protect your passion from someone with too much power? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories where truth fights back.